Imagine, if you will, a world where your every action is not dictated by the outcome. A world where you are free from the shackles of expectations and the burden of results. This, my friends, is the world I invite you to step into today. A world where the journey itself becomes the destination. I know what you are thinking, but how can I not focus on results? Is not that what life is all about? Well, let me tell you something profound. Life is not about the destination. It is about the journey. And the sooner we embrace this truth, the sooner we'll find true freedom and happiness. When we constantly focus on results, we are living in a future that does not exist yet. We are tying our happiness, our sense of worth, to something that's not even real. It is like trying to catch the wind, always just out of reach, always leaving us feeling unfulfilled. But what if I told you there's another way? A way to live that brings joy, fulfillment, and peace in every moment. This way is what I call the power of not reacting. Break this down. What does it mean to not react? It means to pause, to create a space between stimulus and response. It means to be the master of your emotions rather than a slave to them. It means to choose your response rather than letting your conditioned mind choose for you. Think about it. How many times have you reacted in anger only to regret it later? How many times have you jumped to conclusions only to find out you were wrong? How many times have you let fear hold you back only to realize later that the fear was unfounded? These reactions, my friends, are the result of focusing too much on outcomes, on results. When we are so fixated on what might happen, we forget to be present in what is happening. We forget to live. But here is the beautiful truth. You have the power to change this. You have the power to break free from the cycle of reaction and step into a life of conscious response. And it all starts with not focusing on results. I can hear some of you saying, but how can I achieve anything if I do not focus on results? And to that I say, achievement is not about the end result. It is about who you become in the process. There was once a young man who dreamed of becoming a great painter. Every day, he would spend hours in front of his canvas, brush in hand, trying to create the perfect masterpiece. But no matter how hard he tried, he was never satisfied with the result. His paintings were good, but they weren't great, and this constant focus on the end result was slowly killing his passion for art. One day, an old master painter came to visit. He looked at the young man's work and said, "Your technique is excellent, but your paintings lack soul." The young man was confused. "How can I put soul into my paintings?" he asked. The old master smiled and said, "Stop painting to create great art. Paint because you love to paint. Paint to express yourself. Paint to explore. Paint without caring about the result." The young man was skeptical, but he decided to give it a try. And something miraculous happened. As he let go of his obsession with the end result, his art began to flourish. His paintings became vibrant, alive, full of emotion and energy. People were drawn to his work like never before. And the irony, by letting go of his desire to create great art, he had become a great artist. This, my friends, is the power of not focusing on results. When we let go of our attachment to outcomes, we free ourselves to fully engage in the present moment. We open ourselves up to creativity, to inspiration, to joy. But it is not just about art. This principle applies to every area of our lives, in our relationships, in our careers, in our personal growth. When we stop obsessing over results and start focusing on the process, magic happens. Think about a relationship you're in right now. Maybe it is with a spouse, a friend, a child, or a colleague. How often do you find yourself trying to change them, to mold them into what you think they should be? How often do you get frustrated when they do not meet your expectations? This focus on results, on what you want the other person to be or do, creates tension. It creates resistance. It creates conflict. But what if instead you focused on simply being present with that person? What if you focused on understanding them, on appreciating them for who they are right now? When we let go of our need to control outcomes in our relationships, we create space for love to flourish. We create an environment where both people can grow and evolve naturally without pressure or expectation. And paradoxically, it is in this space of non-attachment to results that our relationships often improve dramatically. The same principle applies to our careers. How many of us are stuck in jobs we do not love because we are focused on the result of a paycheck? How many of us are chasing promotions or titles thinking they'll bring us happiness? But here's the truth. External success without internal fulfillment is like a golden cage. It might look impressive from the outside, but it is still a prison. What if, instead of focusing on climbing the corporate ladder, we focused on doing work that truly matters to us? What if we focused on developing our skills, on making a positive impact, on finding joy in our daily tasks? When we shift our focus from the result to the process, We open ourselves up to opportunities we might never have seen otherwise. We become more creative, more innovative, more valuable. And ironically, it is often this shift in focus that leads to even greater external success. But perhaps the most powerful area where we can apply this principle is in our personal growth. Too often, we approach self-improvement with a results-oriented mindset. We set goals like I want to lose 20 pounds or I want to meditate for an hour every day. And while there is nothing inherently wrong with having goals, the problem comes when we tie our sense of self-worth to achieving these goals. What if, instead, we focused on the process of becoming healthier or more mindful? What if, instead of beating ourselves up when we do not reach our arbitrary targets, we celebrated the small steps we take each day? What if we learned to love the journey of growth itself rather than fixating on some imagined endpoint? When we let go of our attachment to results in our personal growth, we free ourselves from the cycle of self-judgment and disappointment. We open ourselves up to the joy of learning, of evolving, of becoming, and paradoxically, it is often when we let go of our desperate need to change that real, lasting change occurs. I can hear some of you thinking, but is not this just an excuse for laziness? If we do not focus on results, won't we just end up doing nothing? And to that I say, absolutely not. Not focusing on results does not mean not taking action. In fact, it often leads to more action, more engagement, more aliveness. When we are not paralyzed by the fear of failure, when we are not constantly judging ourselves against some imagined ideal, we are free to explore, to experiment, to take risks. We are free to follow our curiosity, to pursue what truly excites us. And it is in this space of freedom that true greatness often emerges. Think about some of the greatest innovations in human history. Do you think the Wright brothers were focused on creating a multi-billion-dollar airline industry when they were tinkering in their bicycle shop? Do you think Steve Jobs was focused on creating the world's most valuable company when he was building computers in his garage? Of course not. They were focused on the process, on the joy of creation, on following their passion. The results came as a byproduct of their engagement with the present moment. This, my friends, is the paradox of not focusing on results. When we let go of our attachment to outcomes, we often achieve even greater things than we could have imagined. But more importantly, we find joy, fulfillment, and peace along the way. I know this is not easy. We live in a world that's obsessed with results. From a young age, we are taught to focus on grades, on achievements, on external markers of success. We are bombarded with messages telling us we need to be more, do more, have more. Shifting away from this mindset takes courage. It takes practice. It takes patience. But let me tell you, it is worth it. Because when you learn to let go of your attachment to results, you gain something far more valuable than any external achievement. You gain freedom. Freedom from the constant pressure to perform. Freedom from the fear of failure. Freedom from the tyranny of others' expectations. And in this freedom, you find something magical. You find the ability to be fully present in each moment. You find the courage to follow your heart. You find the joy of living life on your own terms. How do we do this? How do we cultivate this power of not reacting, this ability to let go of our focus on results? Well, it starts with awareness. It starts with catching yourself in those moments when you're getting caught up in outcomes, when you're reacting rather than responding. Maybe you're in a conversation and you find yourself getting defensive because you are focused on being right. Maybe you are at work and you are feeling stressed because you are focused on meeting a deadline. Maybe you're looking in the mirror and you are feeling discouraged because you are focused on reaching some ideal body image. In these moments, pause, take a deep breath, remind yourself that your worth is not tied to any outcome. Remind yourself that life is happening right now, in this moment, not in some imagined future. Then, shift your focus to the present. If you are in a conversation, focus on really listening to the other person. If you are at work, focus on doing your best in this moment without worrying about the end result. If you are looking in the mirror, focus on appreciating your body for all it does for you, rather than judging it for what it is not. This shift in focus from results to process, from future to present, is the key to unlocking the power of not reacting. It is the key to living a life of freedom, joy, and fulfillment. I want to be clear. This does not mean we never think about the future or never plan. Of course not. Planning and having a vision for our lives is important. But there is a big difference between having a vision that inspires and guides us and being so fixated on a specific outcome that we miss the beauty of the journey. Think of it like this. Imagine you are planning a road trip across the country. You have a destination in mind, and that's great. It gives you a general direction to move in. But if you are so focused on getting to that final destination that you do not stop to enjoy the scenery along the way, if you do not allow yourself to take unexpected detours or explore interesting places you discover en route, then you've missed the whole point of the journey. Life is like that road trip. Yes, it is good to have a general direction, a vision of where you want to go, but the real joy, the real growth, the real living happens in all those moments along the way. It happens in the detours, the unexpected discoveries, the challenges you overcome, the people you meet, the experiences you have. When we let go of our attachment to a specific result, we open ourselves up to all the wonderful possibilities that life has to offer. We allow ourselves to be surprised, to be delighted, to be transformed by the journey itself. And here is the beautiful thing. When we live this way, when we focus on the journey rather than the destination, we often end up in places far more amazing than we could have ever planned. Because life has a way of exceeding our limited imagination when we allow it to unfold naturally, when we are open to its flow rather than trying to control every aspect of it. I know some of you might be thinking, but what about goals? Aren't goals important? And yes, goals can be useful tools, but here's the key. We need to hold our goals lightly. We need to see them as general directions to move in, not as rigid destinations that define our worth or happiness. When we hold our goals lightly, we can pursue them with passion and dedication, but without attachment. We can give our best effort, but then let go of the outcome. We can celebrate our progress rather than constantly judging ourselves against some future ideal. This approach to goals is liberating. It allows us to dream big and take bold action, but without the stress and anxiety that comes from needing things to turn out a certain way. It allows us to be fully engaged in the present moment while still moving in a meaningful direction. And here's the paradox. When we approach our goals this way, when we focus on the process rather than the result, we often achieve even more than we thought possible. Because we are not held back by fear of failure. Because we are able to adapt and pivot as circumstances change. Because we are open to opportunities that we might have missed if we were rigidly focused on a specific outcome. But even more importantly, we enjoy the journey. We find fulfillment and joy in the process itself rather than constantly postponing our happiness to some future date when we've achieved our goal. This, my friends, is the essence of living a life unburdened by an obsession with results. It is about being fully present in each moment. It is about giving your best effort without attachment to the outcome. It is about appreciating the journey with all its ups and downs, twists and turns. I want to address something important here. Some people might hear this message and think it means we should just drift through life without any direction or purpose. Nothing could be further from the truth. Not focusing on results does not mean not caring. It does not mean not putting in effort. It does not mean not having dreams or aspirations. In fact, when we let go of our attachment to specific outcomes, we often find ourselves more motivated, more engaged, more alive than ever before. Because we are no longer driven by fear or external pressure. We are driven by genuine passion, by curiosity, by a desire to grow and contribute. Think about a child at play. They're fully absorbed in what they're doing. They're not worried about whether their block tower is the tallest or their drawing is the best. They're simply enjoying the act of creation, the process of exploration. And in that state of pure engagement, they often create amazing things and learn at an incredible rate. That's the state we are aiming for, that pure engagement with life. That ability to throw ourselves fully into what we are doing without worrying about the end result. It is a state of flow, a state of joy, a state of aliveness. And here's the beautiful thing. When we live this way, we become more resilient because our sense of self is not tied to specific outcomes. We can bounce back more easily from setbacks and disappointment. We can see challenges as opportunities for growth rather than as threats to our self-worth. Think about it. If your happiness and sense of self-worth are tied to achieving a specific result, what happens when things do not go as planned? You feel devastated. But if you're focused on the process, on giving your best effort and learning along the way, then setbacks become valuable feedback. They become opportunities to adjust your approach, to learn, to grow. This resilience is incredibly valuable in today's rapidly changing world because let's face it, life rarely goes exactly as we plan. The ability to adapt, to pivot, to find opportunity in unexpected situations is far more valuable than the ability to rigidly stick to a plan. I want to share a powerful practice that can help you cultivate this ability to let go of your focus on results. It is a simple meditation that I call the open hands meditation. Here's how it works. Find a comfortable seat and close your eyes. Take a few deep breaths to center yourself. Now imagine all your goals, all your expectations all your attachments to specific outcomes. See them as physical objects in your hands. Now slowly open your hands, palms facing up. As you do this, imagine all those goals and expectations gently floating away. They're not gone. You can still see them in your mind's eye, but they're no longer gripped tightly in your hands. Feel the sense of openness, of receptivity that comes with this gesture. Your hands are now free to receive whatever life brings. Your mind is free to engage fully with the present moment. Sit with this feeling for a few minutes. Notice how it feels in your body. Notice how it affects your state of mind. When you're ready, slowly open your eyes. Carry this sense of openness with you as you go about your day. This simple practice can be incredibly powerful. It helps us release our grip on specific outcomes and open ourselves to the fullness of life. It reminds us that our hands need to be open to receive, not clenched tight trying to control. You go through your days, try to notice when you're gripping too tightly to a specific outcome. In those moments, remember this image of open hands. Take a deep breath and consciously release your attachment. You'll be amazed at how this simple shift can transform your experience of life. I want to address a common misconception about this approach to life. Some people here do not focus on results, and they think it means becoming passive or apathetic. They worry that if they're not constantly pushing towards specific goals, they'll lose their drive and ambition. But nothing could be further from the truth. Not focusing on results actually allows us to tap into a deeper, more sustainable source of motivation. It is about shifting from extrinsic motivation, doing things for external rewards or to avoid punishment, to intrinsic motivation, doing things because they're inherently rewarding and meaningful to us. When we are driven by intrinsic motivation, we are more creative, more persistent, and more fulfilled. We are not just going through the motions to reach some arbitrary target. We are fully engaged in the process, finding joy and meaning in the activity itself. Think about it this way. Have you ever been so absorbed in an activity that you lost track of time? Maybe you were playing music or writing or working on a project you were passionate about. In those moments, you weren't focused on the end result. You were simply immersed in the experience, in the flow of the moment. That's the state we are aiming for in all areas of our life. I know what some of you might be thinking. That sounds great for creative pursuits, but what about the mundane tasks of daily life? What about the things we have to do, not because we want to, but because we need? Well, here's where the real magic happens. When we learn to shift our focus from results to process, we can find meaning and engagement even in the most ordinary task. It is all about mindset. Take a simple example of doing the dishes. If you are focused on the result, you might rush through the task, seeing it as a chore to be completed as quickly as possible. But what if you shifted your focus to the process? What if you paid attention to the sensation of the warm water on your hands, the smell of the soap, the satisfaction of seeing each dish become clean? Suddenly, this mundane task becomes an opportunity for mindfulness, for presence. It becomes a moment of peace in your busy day, a chance to practice gratitude for the food you've eaten and the home you live in. This shift in perspective can transform every aspect of your life. Your daily commute becomes an opportunity for reflection or learning. Your workout becomes a celebration of what your body can do rather than a punishment for what you ate. Your interactions with others become opportunities for genuine connection rather than transactions to get what you want. I want to address another common concern. Some people worry that if they let go of their focus on results, they'll become complacent. They fear they'll lose their edge, their drive to improve and grow. But here is the beautiful paradox. When we let go of our attachment to results, we often grow and improve more rapidly than ever before, because we are no longer held back by fear of failure, because we are open to feedback and willing to experiment, because we are enjoying the process of growth itself rather than just fixating on the end goal. Think about learning a new skill, like playing an instrument. If you are solely focused on becoming a virtuoso, you might get frustrated and give up when you do not see rapid progress. But if you focus on the joy of making music, on the small improvements you make each day, on the simple pleasure of playing, you are much more likely to stick with it. And ironically, this approach often leads to greater mastery in the long run. The same principle applies in our professional lives. When we are not obsessed with climbing the corporate ladder or achieving specific targets, we are free to take risks, to innovate, to pursue what truly excites us. And it is in the space of freedom and genuine engagement that true excellence often emerges. I want to talk about something that's crucial to this whole approach, the self-compassion. You see, letting go of our attachment to results does not mean we never feel disappointed or frustrated. Of course we will. We are human after all. The key is how we respond to those feelings. When things do not go as we hoped, instead of beating ourselves up or spiraling into negative self-talk, we can respond with kindness and understanding. We can remind ourselves that setbacks and failures are a natural part of any journey. We can focus on what we've learned, on how we've grown rather than on what we perceive as lacking. This self-compassion is like a soothing balm for our souls. It allows us to bounce back more quickly from disappointments. It gives us the courage to keep putting ourselves out there, to keep taking risks, to keep growing and evolving. And here is something beautiful. As we cultivate this self-compassion, we naturally become more compassionate towards others. We recognize that everyone is on their own journey, facing their own challenges. We become less judgmental, more understanding, more supportive of those around us. This ripple effect of compassion can transform our relationships, our communities, even our world. Because when we are not caught up in our own desperate striving for results, we have more energy, more capacity to contribute to something larger than ourselves. I want to talk about a powerful tool that can help us in this journey of letting go of our attachment to results. Mindfulness. Mindfulness is simply the practice of being fully present in the moment without judgment. It is about observing our thoughts and feelings without getting caught up in them. When we practice mindfulness, we start to notice how often our minds pull us away from the present moment into worries about the future or regrets about the past. We start to see how much of our stress and anxiety comes from this constant focus on results, on what might happen or what we wish had happened differently. But here's the good news. With practice, we can learn to gently bring our attention back to the present moment. We can learn to engage fully with what's happening right now, rather than getting lost in our thoughts about what might happen. This does not mean we never plan for the future or learn from the past. Of course we do, but we do it consciously, intentionally, rather than letting our minds constantly pull us out of the present moment. Mindfulness can be practiced formally through meditation, but it can also be integrated into our daily lives. We can practice mindful eating, savoring each bite of our food. We can practice mindful listening, giving our full attention to the person we are talking to. We can even practice mindful walking, feeling the sensation of our feet touching the ground with each step. As we cultivate this mindfulness, we naturally become less reactive. We create that space between stimulus and response that we talked about earlier. We become more able to choose our responses consciously, rather than just reacting out of habit. And here's something amazing. As we become more present, more mindful, we often find that life becomes richer, more vibrant, colors seem brighter, food tastes better, our connections with others feel deeper and more meaningful, because we are not rushing through each moment to get to some imagined future. We are actually here now, experiencing the fullness of life as it unfolds. I want to address something that might be on some of your minds. You might be thinking, this all sounds great in theory, but how does it work in the real world? How does it apply to my life with all its pressures and responsibilities? Well, let me tell you, this approach is not about escaping from reality or shirking our responsibilities. It is about engaging with life more fully, more effectively. It is about bringing our best selves to every situation we face. When we are not caught up in anxiety about results, we are actually more capable of handling whatever challenges come our way. We are more creative in our problem solving. We are more resilient in the face of setback. We are more able to see opportunities where others might only see obstacles. Think about a time when you were faced with a crisis. In that moment, you probably weren't thinking about long-term results. You were fully present, dealing with what was in front of you. And chances are, you surprise yourself with your capability, your resourcefulness, your strength. That's the kind of presence, that kind of engagement that we are aiming to bring to every moment of our lives, not just in times of crisis, but in our day-to-day experiences. I want to share a powerful visualization that can help you embody this mindset. Imagine yourself as a mighty oak tree. Your roots run deep into the earth, giving you stability and nourishment. Your trunk is strong and flexible, able to bend with the wind without breaking. Your branches reach towards the sky, ever growing, ever expanding. But notice, the oak tree is not straining to grow. It is not stressed about whether it is growing fast enough or in the right direction. It is simply being itself, responding naturally to the sun, the rain, the seasons. Be like that oak tree. Stand firm in your values, your sense of self. Be flexible in the face of life's challenges. Keep growing, keep reaching, but without strain, without stress. Trust in your natural process of growth and unfolding. As we come to the end of our time together, I want to leave you with a challenge. For the next week, try to catch yourself whenever you notice that you are overly focused on results. In those moments, Take a deep breath and shift your attention to the present moment. Ask yourself, what's here for me to learn right now? How can I fully engage with this experience? Notice how this shift affects your state of mind, your level of stress, your enjoyment of life. Notice how it impacts your interactions with others, your performance at work, your overall sense of well-being. Remember, this is a practice. It is not about perfection. There will be times when you get caught up in worrying about results, and that's okay. The key is to notice it when it happens, to gently bring yourself back to the present moment, back to the process. As you practice this, you may find that your life starts to change in subtle but profound ways. You may find yourself feeling more peaceful, more joyful, more alive. You may find that you are actually accomplishing more, even as you let go of your attachment to results. But most importantly, you may find that you are actually living your life, not just preparing to live it at some point in the future. You may find that each moment, each experience becomes richer, more meaningful, more fully lived. And is not that, after all, what life is really about? Not reaching some final destination, but fully experiencing the journey. Not achieving some ultimate result, but engaging fully with the process of living, growing, loving, and contributing. I invite you, my friends, to embrace this power of not reacting, this art of letting go of results. I invite you to step into the fullness of your life right here, right now, because this moment, this precious present, is where life actually happens. And it is waiting for you to show up fully and completely. May you go forth with a new perspective, a new sense of freedom, a new appreciation for the magic of each moment. May you live fully, love deeply, and contribute meaningfully. Unburdened by an obsession with results, the journey awaits. Embrace it with open arms and an open heart,